Welcome back to Serging Tip Clips. Today I want to show you a brand new foot for the BERNINA L890 combo overlocker cover stitch machine. It's called the Compensating Foot and you use it in cover stitch mode. And this foot is really kind of cool and we'll take a close-up look at it in just a minute. But it's great when you have to work right with different layers of fabric, different numbers of layers of fabric. And this foot does exactly what it's called. It compensates for the differences in thicknesses. So let's take a close-up look at that and then we'll go to the machine and see it in action. Let's take a close-up look at the C12 compensating foot. You can see, just as on other serger feet, we have our little indicator ridges. You can use this with a triple cover stitch, narrow cover stitch. You could even use it with a chain stitch if you wanted. So this is your left cover stitch needle guide, center, and right. And this is the cool thing that makes it a compensating foot, is that it's really a 3-section foot. And it's a spring-loaded little gadget that allows either section to drop down, and the center one stays stationary. It's just the right and the left ones that will tip, so that if you're working on, say, multiple layers on the left side, the right side will drop down, and you'll see that when I go to the machine in just a minute with binding. You could also use this if you're attaching kind of a thicker, heavier trim to a fabric and you're cover stitching it on and you needed that compensation factor for that as well. But it is kind of a nifty design on this. So let's go to the machine and see it in action. Here's a photo of how I stabilized the neckline and shoulder seams prior to stitching. These stay tapes are available in my web store. Let's take a look at the screen to see what I'm set up for. I have my machine set up for a narrow cover stitch using my left chain needle and my center chain needle. And my chain looper is all threaded up as well. I have my stitch length on 3.5 and my differential feed on 1, and I'll show you why I have my neckline all stabilized. So we are all set to go, and 3.5 might sound like kind of a long stitch, but actually when you are going through multiple layers in cover stitch, that's not too long at all. In fact, I could tick it up even a little bit more. So let's take a look at this in action. I've taken the extension table off to use the free arm because I am going around a neckline. But I have the presser foot up, and just to show you how this foot works when it's on the machine, you can see that that little spring-loaded compensation factor on the foot will allow this to travel. But you can see, let me move this over just a hair. You can see how that right edge, because it's not against the fabric or those multiple layers, drops down a little bit just to get nice even feeding. And I think I am going to tick up my stitch length because this is pretty hefty. It's a sweater knit. So I think I'm going to bring that up to about 3.8. And let's give this a go. And I'm using a contrasting thread just so that you can see it. But look at how it travels through. And another nice thing about this is that because this drops down, it really provides kind of a guide, almost like a blind hem foot guide does. It just hugs the edge of the binding fabric and keeps everything aligned. I'm going to take out a couple of these little clips ahead of time because I think it's making a lot of clicking with the microphone up close to the machine. This is just a little mock-up of a top that I'm going to be making later on this afternoon. So I thought I would try out this foot and see how great it works. And it really does live up to its reputation. So that's kind of nice. And that's going right over those seam allowances as well, which is fantastic. This is a great little foot. I am loving it even more than I thought I would. So. Okay, we're coming down to the home stretch here. Trying to keep my hands out of the way, and I'm not stretching that neckline, just in case you're wondering. Now, you've seen this before of how I finish stitching in the round without losing a stitch. So I'm just spreading the right and left needle threads apart and trying to keep my stitching aligned. But as I say, I'm off to the side, so it's really kind of hard to tell. So I am... And I'm going to show you one other very cool little thing with this machine. I'm going to put the presser foot up, and just so that I can check to see where I am on this, I can swing my foot or pivot it out of the way. And I have my presser foot up, and I'm going to take my little lock stitch tool, which looks kind of like a little fork. It's kind of handy, over the fabric, under the foot. And I'm going to pull those needle threads forward about 4 inches. And then I give it the old snip, snap, snip. So I'm going to give that a clip. Pull it off. And then I'll have one thread that's still attached. And that is my chain looper thread. And I've clipped and never lost a stitch. And you can see how the stitching looks really great all the way around. And it's that compensating foot that does the trick. Thanks for joining me today. And if you haven't subscribed, thanks for clicking the little bell. You'll receive a notification when I post a new tip clip. And again, if you have any questions or comments, just leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Thanks. Happy sewing and serging. See you again soon.